Right, I just wanted to make a quick video. I always say that and it's never quick. But I do want to make it quick. Fed up with this. I've just fed up with it all. So this director, I've learned some interesting information about this. I'll say in a minute. You couldn't make it up if you tried. Nothing, absolutely nothing surprises me anymore. And I might be an intelligent person, but my naivety about people in general, I think it's just built into you, isn't it? You just don't expect people to. Right. Well, anyway, first of all, today I had a text message from. I had a text message from the director of blame, as my partner likes to call him, the director of blame. This is John Clement of Lilybank Homes, who wants to kick me out of here. He said he's got someone else going into my room. In fact, actually, it's just occurred to me who that someone might be. The girl that you see in the background of that. The girl you see in the background of the video where I'm chasing after him down the road about recycling and bins. The one you see behind in the background, these troublemakers here, who said that when I moved in, they asked me if I was schizophrenic and that they wanted to help me get into a one-bedroom flat, which is not something you tend to say to people you don't know, is it? Bit weird, that. And what do you know? Next minute, they're trying to get me out of here. These women get help. They've got social workers. They've got boyfriends in prison. I comforted that one you see in the background. She was crying about her boyfriend being in prison. I comforted her tears. And what do you know? I gave her, because they offered to help me. And I thought, bit odd. And I gave her Trudy from Warming Up the Homeless's phone number. But even she hasn't got back to me. She said she'd do all these things the way they all do, and that 2 agencies would contact me. No agencies contacted me. I've sent her lots of text messages. Trudy from Warming Up the Homeless, she set up the charity. She's ex-police. She says she's concerned about vulnerable women. Well, she's not concerned about me. These women have got social workers. They've had the support. But because I don't take drugs and because my partner hasn't actually physically beaten me to a pulp or anything like that, I don't get any help from anyone. So I wonder, it's only just occurred to me that she might be the one going into my room, but you can't do that, John. You can't. And if you do, I will take a civil claim against you and Lilybank Homes, because my partner, if you don't, this is what the general public need to know about, right? The shelter website gives you all this information, but they're banking, the councils are banking on vulnerable people not knowing that it's there. Everything that Eastbourne Borough Council have been doing to me over the past 8 years is 100% criminal. And on that note, I want to please ask all of you out there to sign the pledge, the Magna Carta pledge that Mr. Inman and Paul Smith, that's someone from primary school, Paul Thorpe, has put out there. because in order to save the UK, you need to sign the pledge. And I'll come to that in a minute. So my partner spent a long time explaining. He spent £8 on this. He printed this in the library. I've got basic protection as a licensee, as a contractual licensee. A contractual license is where a license arises out of a contract under which the license has performed. Pay money in return for accommodation. So people here pay service charges. That's where Mr. Andrew Cook wanted to catch me out. And the legal ombudsman is already investigating my housing officer for what he's done to me, along with Law Stop. I've just recorded this evening a phone call with the woman from South Road, who is meant to be looking after my things. Because by law, you're not allowed to dispose of a licensee's or a tenant's possessions. Honestly, they're in such big doo-doo. I've just been told by someone you have 3 years to take action against them. So I have actually got way more rights than I ever realised. But they are hoping that people with mental health issues won't question any of this, because these criminals will do whatever they can to get rid of you and your possessions and anything. So, this is not lawful, because as a licensee, I have been here for just over a month, which means they have got to give me a month's notice, the equivalent of how long I have been here. Not 3 days, but I have received a text message from John Clement of Lilybank Homes. Yes, I will. My partner's text me to say keep those shelter pages visible in your room. Bryony, your last day at the property was yesterday. So he sent that to me on the 24th of September at just after 7 p.m. on Tuesday, the 24th of September. Your last day at the property was yesterday. Have you reported to the council for rehoming? We have another client for your room. Well, I think it was Miss Troublemaker downstairs. I think it was Miss Troublemaker. Because she said something weird to me about wanting to move into my room, and they were hoping that I was schizophrenic, because she was trying to make me think. Sarah next door said, don't you remember we came into your room? You know the video where I filmed her saying, she didn't realise I was filming, but she knocked on my door, and I didn't film the whole thing. But she tried to convince me that after I'd gone after John to ask him about the recycling in the bins, and by the way, it's still outside. There's an extra bin liner dumped on all the other bin liners outside. Yes, it's a health and safety hazard, John. Excuse me. So this John, who's locked me out before, locked me out of my room in an all-male house share, is trying to bully me out of here again. But as I said, by law, they can't do that. For all the 8 years of hell that I have been put through. Now, as it is, on top of that, I did the District Judge Harper at the county courts in Hastings told me on the 8th of August, in front of the landlady, he said to me, he'd just told her that had I had the committal papers, he would have put that landlady in prison there and then. Then he turned to me and he said, you, Bryony, Miss McCarthy, need to go to the council, the local MP, And if they don't give you an illegal evictions officer, to go to the MP. Now, Monique Prescott, who put me in here, said they don't have illegal evictions officers. She herself was a paralegal. The judge used to work as in housing. He said he was a housing law solicitor. Now, apparently this judge is a very good judge. I tell you what I've done, and I'm letting this solicitor know about this, because he's saying to me, there's nothing you can do. And 5 minutes later, he's saying, let me know if the council do anything untoward, which they are. They never acted by law in the first place. So this is why vulnerable people and people without mental health issues will give up at the first hurdle, because it's too overwhelming for anyone. So basically, I have emailed the local MP, who used to be Councillor Josh Burundi OBE, and not only has he ignored my email this time round, and it's quite a long, angry email. I've told him what this judge has said. I've also forwarded Josh the email I sent him when I was self-funding the Cavendish Hotel for 9 months for my safety, when I was attacked by convicted criminals. And I will keep on and on playing this till I am blue in the face, because this vile creature on a tag was in my shared council accommodation. All the councillors and the then MP Caroline Ansell ignored my plight. This is what they were ignoring.
Because I'll swear down, I will come up there and I'll bet you senseless. Dirty little bitch. I'll bet your Dory. Bridie, I'm not fucking joking. I'm not fucking joking.
So that was at 3 o'clock in the morning on the 29th of April 2021. 3 hours later, a corrupt police officer with all his medals tried to put me in prison for going up Beachy Head suicidal. Now, Councillor Josh Burundi, OBE, ignored my online application on the 15th of March, and I've got the email still. And I forwarded it to him along with my current situation, because they've allowed things to go from bad to worse to worse to worse, because there is no legal system anymore. It's so corrupt through and through. So I am having to let this solicitor know that for the 6 weeks that the council did not do what the judge told them they should be doing, which is to provide me with an illegal evictions officer, they didn't do that. But now they're kicking me out of this place because of these silly billies, these infantile you-know-whats. Knowing my traumatic circumstances, knowing I've got a brain-damaged, crippled sister who's in similar circumstances, but her situation is obviously different to mine, because I'm in shock still, but I haven't even found out how my father died or anything like that, and it's just me fighting this ongoing targeting, just because I asked about some bins and recycling. And by the way, thank you so much to that lovely lady in Wales who is watching me, because you can see the insanity that I am dealing with, how they're trying to make me look like I'm crazy, when I'm actually holding in so much anger you would not believe. People just are not listening to me in this town. They're not listening. People think they are, but they want to just everyone's circumstances is different, but I'm so glad that you can see what's going on here, because it's just insane. I could get a 5-year-old to tell me where the recycling and the rubbish goes, and he's running away from me. Oh my gosh, she's so aggressive. She's asking me about recycling and bins, even though I'm the director. Oh, where are the men? It's hard to believe that we had schoolboys who at one time fought and died for our freedoms in this country, and you've got men running down the street. Oh, she's talking about recycling and bins. And Charles Lucas Property Management. I recorded one of the A&A contractors who was meant to manage 12 Belmore Road, calling me an effing spastic, which is a hate crime. I've got so much criminal evidence against these property managers and this council, and they're protecting these idiots and criminals. They're emptying rapists and paedophiles onto the streets and putting you in prison for saying hurty words or for having a political rhetoric. That's the UK for you. So you've got to sign that pledge. So I'm telling you, whilst I want to get a refund for this poison that I bought, because it is poison, I'm alcohol intolerant. I've been going up Beachy Head suicidal. I want to get a refund for that alcohol because it's very expensive. It just makes me vomit. It's very dangerous stuff. I don't need that. But I've been hanging on to it because these cretins, these criminals, I'm using very, very polite language. They're pushing me to suicide. So thank you so much to that nice lady in Wales for your support. I haven't read your reply yet. But I am really intimidated by this solicitor because he's got a reputation. If you read the reviews, Basil Fawlty, the Basil Fawlty of solicitors, rudest solicitor and all that. Oh, rudest man I've ever met. He doesn't know anything about housing law, but the thing is, I've got to work with him because they're cutting back on legal aid and he's the only go-to person that there is. Even Monique Prescott said that is the way he is. And look at what she's done. She's telling me to leave alone a woman who was... I recorded this woman telling her over the phone that I wasn't a problem, and Monique was telling me to leave her alone, and I'd been beaten out of my SDR flat of 4 months. As a response to my father's death, my birth certificate, passport... Now, wait till you hear this. Let me just take a sip of tea because you could not make it up if you tried. I mean, I am so naive about people. There is so much corruption going on. So we were in the Lansdowne Hotel a little while ago. One of the nicest hotels in Eastbourne. There aren't many places you can go to for the sake of sweet sanity, but in March 2023, which was last year, it was 1 month after I received the email about my father's death, but it just said your late father's estate and it didn't say anything else. I still don't know how he died. And I was in tears and I had no one to... I wasn't talking to my partner Darren at the time. I'd come out of his friend's flat, and because one time Darren was arrested, my partner was arrested over the keys to his friend's flat. This is what I mean. There's an ongoing thing here. And so anyway, I had this for the whole time I was in that flat, I didn't speak to Darren for those 4 months. But he was watching my YouTube videos because I had a harassing phone call from an anonymous number, which it was an obscene phone call in the early hours, and the Metropolitan Police are supposed to take it seriously, but they didn't. There were weird things being said about they're all nutcases. They said that I was filming someone's child. I mean, really? They're releasing paedophiles and rapists onto the streets. I put someone in prison for 2 years and 10 years on a sex offenders register. I doubt very much if, as a vulnerable female, I'm going to go around filming someone else's child. And they think I'm schizophrenic. We all know who the paranoid ones are. This is why, for the sake of sweet sanity, I've got to look at the funny side of this trauma, right? So I get an email from Barwell's. They contacted PC Thorpe. PC Thorpe did a welfare check. Wait till you hear this. So if you look on my Facebook wall, you will see the bruises caused by those police thugs, right? Yeah. Thank you, Chantel from Matthew 25. Whatever morons you have. Anyway. Because, you get talking to people who pretend to show you concern in A&E, and then behind your back, they're talking to the corrupt police officers saying, oh, I think Bryony might be causing a scene. Do you want to go and have a check? Really? Yeah. What a lovely lady you are. What lovely... Like this landlady who said she wanted to help me write a book, who's now facing prison. Well, I've just been talking to someone who said she'll probably be, the fact that she's 85 and she's a retired matron who worked at the Princess Royal Hospital, she'll probably go and find all her mates in prison. And I said, mates? Because there are a lot of corrupt people out there. This is how naive I am. I thought she sounded all motherly. Well, that doctor, what was his name? The doctor who killed his patients, murdered his patients. What was his name? I've forgotten. He looked like a nice old man, didn't he? Yeah, right, Father Christmas. Anyway, I'm going off on one. But the SDR living flat that I had for 4 months. So basically, so if you see the photographs on my Facebook wall, you'll see what those thugs did to me. And then a month later, that was a response to my father's death, and then them saying I didn't need a mental health nurse. Yeah, of course I don't. And then they put on record that my issues were too complex. Because, of course, losing a parent is so unusual. Since when have you ever heard about someone losing a parent? But as Monique Prescott said, the Sherelle Clark and Dion Clark, who were mentioned twice in the national news, both Hampshire Constabulary and Eastbourne now, yeah, well, it's all right for them to mug the elderly. They've got their issues. But me, Bryony, who's lost a parent, nah, it's too complex. That's why you have to start these rumours, Monique. Do you realise it's because of rumours, false gossip and breaches of GDPR? It's because of that this landlady is facing prison. And yet you used to go to the pub with the solicitor that I'm dealing with, really, for a drink? Honestly, I'm having to bite my tongue. I've got to be so careful what I say. But I want it out there because, that could be your mother or your grandmother being mugged. Or, heaven forbid, you one day when you're elderly. But don't worry, because they've got their issues. Yeah, I've recorded them. Brighton Housing Trust were protecting Sherelle and Dion Clark, and the MP and the councillors, they all knew about it, and that's why they were mentioned in the BBC News. And you're saying to me, do you think maybe people are afraid of you telling the truth? Are you that much of a coward that could have been your mother or your grandmother? And yet I was the one reaching out in distress, and a member of the public who had cancer, who was going through cancer treatment, I should say, emailed Caroline Ansell MP. No one did anything. Anyway, so what happened after all of that? Self-funding the Cavendish Hotel and then being beaten by the police out of my flat, forced into Pevensey Road, which is it was a form of human trafficking. They physically forced me into Pevensey Road, and Monique Prescott was part of this, and she's still not helping me. She's not helping me with the discretionary housing payment. She's not looking into my garage, the storage that I pay Eastbourne Borough Council for that was sold. I am the reason. I am your reason why I am the face of why so many people in this country give up and kill themselves because of all the corruption. I am an amazing woman. I am an amazingly brave woman. Yeah. This is why there's that part of me that doesn't need anybody, yeah? You see what I mean? So, when I wandered the streets in my nightwear, it was, guess what? It was the managing director who locked me out of my SDR living flat. So I went to the Lansdowne Hotel. Well, first of all, I went to Humphrey and Co. And then it was one of two ladies from Caffins, which is the rich people's car place, who saw me on the steps of Humphrey and Co. in my nightwear, walked with me back to Caffins. They gave me food. They listened to me. It's just like when my Barclays banker assistant phoned the director, that man that you saw running away from me, because I was running after him with this laptop, asking him about recycling and bins and all of that. It was my Barclays bank assistant who rang him up to ask him, this is what I've got to put in the email to the solicitor, because if I can get a statement from her. So this is what I mean, it's overwhelming. This idiot locked me out of cell on place, and the Barclays bank assistant, a foreign lady, very nice lady, a bit like Caffins. The corporate entities are the ones doing the jobs of the social services. They'll see you in distress and they'll think, why is no one doing anything for her? This is what I mean, this narcissism, this Masonic narcissism. Yes, it all goes hand in hand. It all goes hand in hand. It's all set up. It's all by design to fail. That's why they don't like me, because I'm speaking the truth. So basically, the duty hotel manager, Andy Camfield, at the Lansdowne Hotel, you won't believe this. Wait till you hear this. In March, it was my birthday. It was the day after my... No, it was the day... I think it was the same day as my birthday, actually. It might have been the same day. So, no, sorry, it was the 14th of March. It was 2 days before my birthday, because I was then beaten all night in A&E on my birthday. because they'd human trafficked me to Pevensey Road. The police had dragged me in the car, got me in there. Anyway, I've got to try and stay calm saying this. This is how people get Alzheimer's and dementia. So basically, I think it was the 14th of March 2023 that the managing director of SDR locked me out of the flat. And then I did the rounds trying to get people to help me. I spent 4 hours with Dr. Jones at the Lighthouse practice. My GP texted me to say that I'd spent 4 hours with this GP who did nothing. I'd reported him to the GMC, the General Medical Council, a week before. And as I said, if you look on Trustpilot, you'll see the reviews. The doctor's review is saying it's a scam. All these ombudsmen are a scam. The only ombudsman that will do anything for you, and you have to be vulnerable, is the legal ombudsman. They're the only ones who will pick their things out. The rest I added to the 100% of bad reviews. So anyway, as I was saying, this hotel manager, he was like, we get complaints about SDR living all the time, and he said, I'll ring the head of police for you, and I'll also ring the managing director. But what I failed to tell him was that it was the managing director of SDR who had colluded to lock me out of the flat. They were all in on it. Well, guess what? I've just learned this evening that manager, and I'm so glad I went to ask them about this, that nice man, that manager, has been put in prison for fraud. Yes, you couldn't make it up if you tried. So this landlady that I'm putting in prison for what she's done to me, the police had tried to put me in prison for being suicidal on Beachy Head. And this hotel, God, this is a landlady who wanted to help me write a book. She's now become part of my story. So the police were trying to get me in prison for going up Beachy Head suicidal. A landlady who wanted to help me write a book who's facing prison. The Lansdowne duty hotel manager who helped me, when he took me into this is one of the nicest hotels in Eastbourne. It's very expensive. I have stayed there. I've stayed in a lot of the hotels in Eastbourne that I've spent thousands of pounds on because of the corruption. But it's too expensive to stay in there. It is well over £100 a night now. But he took me downstairs to the staff room. Police turned up, didn't do anything, but now I've just learned that he's been put in prison. I said to one of the ladies, I said, how do you spell Andy Camfield? And the lady who gives me a cup of tea in there, a pot of tea, she said to me, well, he hasn't left as such. I said, hasn't left? She said, been put in prison for fraud. So my mouth was like, oh, right. So he conned people out of 80 or 90 grand, and he did it to more than one person. But the person who told me that doesn't really want to get involved and say too much, which I understand. So there you go. It just shows that my naivety, you just don't know. It's usually the nice people, the nice guys, isn't it? I say the nice guys, you know what I mean. A lot of psychopaths and sociopaths who present as lovely people, but, you know, but I need to put this in writing to the solicitor, because he's saying, look, there's nothing, you've got no rights, you're a licensee, and then the next minute he's saying, let me know. He's got this solicitor needs to do something for me. He can't say, oh, if the council try and make you. They did not provide me with an illegal evictions officer in the first place, and over the past 8 years I was in that flat for 4 months. It was brand new. They were putting down brand new carpets when I moved in. By law, they have to give me 4 months. You can't just, after 4 months, beat someone out of their flat because you don't like their distress at their father's death. When they were staff trained at SDR Living to deal with complex needs, have a look at the website SDR Living. It looks lovely. There's a waterfall, there's a kingfisher. Oh yeah, everything that I would like. Oh yes, talk about polishing a turd. And the turd that runs this place, or I should say neglects this place, who locked me out of Ceylon Place, who prompted my Barclays Bank assistant to call him over my possessions, he's doing the same thing again unlawfully. He's saying that this room, someone else is going into this room. By law, he can't do that. And even he, John Clement, the director of Lilybank Homes, who did what I've just described, the crimes that he's already committed against me as a licensee previously, he's trying to do the same thing to me again now, unlawfully, knowing my distress, knowing my circumstances, all this malicious false gossip. He's trying to do the same bloody thing again. He couldn't manage his little finger. He's not telling us where the bins go outside. He hasn't told me that. There's an extra bin liner dumped outside right now as I speak, which I filmed evidence of. Wasn't given any information. My partner got the key, the bedding, he cleaned everything up. And even he, John Clement of Lilybank Homes, said to me when I moved in, oh, SDR Living, that place has got a terrible reputation. Oh, what about your own, Mr. Projection? Yes, everything they've been doing to me for 8 years has been criminal. But if you're vulnerable, if you suffer with your mental health, if you've had a breakdown, if you've lost a loved one, if you've got no one to turn to, if you're easy pickings, they'll do whatever they can to you. Eastbourne Borough Council, mafia, local Freemasons, whatever you want to call it. It's all there on the shelter website. If you know where to look, it's there. They can't do this to you by law, but they are. And they're doing it left, right and centre, and probably up and down the country. Sign the Magna Carta. It's called the Pledge. Sign it. Sign the Pledge. So, on top of that, it was very difficult to ring Jackie at South Road in New Haven, because Monique Prescott and the support worker told me she still had my things with other people's things. They're not allowed to dispose of things. I think I've still got Jamie's text message. Her son, Jamie. We haven't got your things anymore. We disposed of them after 6 months. Sorry, we hadn't heard from you since March. I hadn't heard from Jackie. My last text message to her was on the 4th of March, giving her the address at Whitley Road. And that landlady is now facing prison. And on the 4th of March, that was the day, would you believe, that she attempted to illegally evict me. Do you think there's a bit of a coincidence there? The fact that the landlady attempted to illegally evict me on the 4th of March, which was the day that this Jackie wanted to drive my things over to me. It could just be a coincidence, but there's an ongoing pattern here either way. It could just be a coincidence. I know when something isn't a coincidence, but there's definitely a pattern here, because I told the mental health people what my severe disability was. Clutter due to, it's called OCD, but these are my possessions, these are my valuables, photographs, my gold 18th birthday gift from my eldest sister Tanya, my 18th, it was a 9-carat, it was definitely gold, it was a gold watch, it was no more than 18 carat, but it was at least 9-carat gold. That was my 18th birthday present, engraved, thrown in with other people's shit. I had vintage photographs, one from 1912, one of my grandmother in 1912. Yeah, black and white photographs, photograph of my mother, my sisters, me and my sisters, things like that. The things that matter to me. Nah, do you know what happened? A fraudulent Section 184 typed up by John Tutty saying that I broke all the utilities that I complained about. Don't worry, Bryony, I've got you on the phone. We're going to get you into a supported flat, a 1-bedroom supported flat. And do you know what that little shit did? That little turd who told me that he had slept rough himself. He locked me out, prompting me to use what pennies that I had left to go and buy a duvet from the charity shop. It's February 2018. It had just started to snow. I go up Beachy Head, and you know what little shit turned up? PC Scott Franklin Lester Senior. Yeah, the same police officer that tried to get me in prison for recording a criminal on a tag threatening to beat me senseless at 3 a.m. Yeah, he used that. He said, I was threatened. I realise now what they meant when they said to me, we can't help you if you keep going up to Beachy Head suicidal. What they actually meant was, if you keep going up to our world-famous suicide spot, suicidal, we're going to get so fed up with you, we're going to try and put you in prison. And we're going to put on your records that you don't engage and you don't accept help, even though we're not going to turn up for the appointments that we arrange for you. So we're going to make you, Bryony, we're going to frame you. Yeah, because that's what the Eastbourne Masons have basically done in the club. They framed me as being completely delusional. Where that's why these paranoid people are like, oh my gosh, is she schizophrenic and all that bollocks? When really, I'm just an ordinary human being who's had a lot of trauma, had a lot to deal with on their own, has lost their parents and been exploited by insecure turds. So this landlady, this 85-year-old retired matron landlady, she jumped on me, didn't she? Because she thought, I want some of this. That's what she thought. She thought, I'm so insecure myself. I'm going to tell her that I would like to help her write a book. Don't tell her that I know about her YouTube channel, but all the gossip that she's collected and collated and she's a fantasist. Her libelous statement. What you need to do with the narcissist is zip it. Let them. They've overplayed their hand. Let them play those hands. Because it's all going to be, the truth is going to be revealed. Don't say what they've done. I have kind of said some of it, and I should have kept my mouth shut, but it's all there. Their lies are going to catch them out. So instead of being upset about all these lies about me, I just got to shut up, let them get on with it. It's all going to be exposed. They'll expose themselves, you see. I don't have to do the hard work anymore. I let the solicitor do that part. It's just the rest of it that's making me stressed. Because all my possessions, all my valuables, that's all that matters to me. This man was saying to me at the hotel how he's just managed to take legal action against his ex-wife because his little boy, for 2 years he's had a battle. His 4-year-old is now saying, no, Daddy, I want to be with you. I don't know why Mummy was saying these things, and she said all these things, and it's you I want to be with. Well, he's an intelligent son, so long as he hasn't been, mentally. But he was saying to me, you've got 3 years to to take action. Your possessions should not have been, they're not allowed to dispose of your things, whether you're a tenant or a licensee. So I've got to stop giving my partner a hard time, which is difficult, very difficult, because there's no one else to run to, is there? But yeah, so but yeah, I need to put this all in writing, really. I have an Iranian lady friend. She's more of an acquaintance. I don't want to say her name. She once said to me, "Oh, why don't you ask the council to get you a house near me?" A house? Bloody hell, I can't even keep a temporary room over my head without them beating me out of it. Because something I didn't say was that at the all-male house share at Ceylon Place, because it's so traumatic, what happened was I reacted in a massive breakdown, amount of distress over my possessions that were in the hospital, where they were meant to be, where they basically like to abuse their patients, unless they're actually celebrating the mutilation of children, the LGB, then they'll be torturing you at Sussex Partnership. So they had possessions of mine, and of course I screamed and shouted about it because I've got OCD. Police thugs, basically, I couldn't take any more. I wanted to die. Just had enough. Ongoing police thugs banging on my door, saying if I didn't open the door, they'd kick the door in. And I was like this on the bed. So they kicked the door in, and PC Curtis looked at me and said, "Brian, are you idiot?" And yeah, I ended up crying to the nice ones they like to bring in. This is what they like to do. And yeah, that was at John Clement's all-male property, and he locked me out of that house share. And it was my Barclays bank assistant who rang him to try and get my things back, because adult social care couldn't give a shit. So Barclays Bank were ringing up the director, idiot, that doesn't want to speak to me, that you saw in that video. The council placed me here with him in this shithole, basically. And I'm calling it a shithole because basically anywhere where they treat you like this is a shithole. And the people that abuse you like this are shits. They're neglecting you, they're committing crimes against your sovereignty, your basic human rights, and that's why I'm going to sign the pledge once I've finished making this video. Because that pledge is to do with everything that's wrong in this country right now, including these crimes. So just remember John Clement of Lilybank Homes and all the others who've horrifically abused me, Charles Lucas Property Management, Justin, the A&A contractors who worked alongside him, the one who called me an effing spastic, which is a hate crime. I tell you what, you lot, thanks. Thanks a lot, because you've helped put this landlady in prison. Thanks a lot. All because of your malicious gossip, your breaches of GDPR and all of that. Do you know what? Some of you are old enough to be great, I don't know how many greats, grandparents. There's no future for the children of this world. And you lot, really. My mother would be 86. Do you know what she said to me before she died? She said, well, actually, you don't really deserve to hear it because it's between me and her. But I tell you what, for all the amazing things that my mother could do. She worked at sea. She had an illegal abortion in 1958 because she was taken advantage of by a man who was selling his body in New York. Yes, there's nothing new under the sun. That's something that's a bitter pill for me to swallow, because I thought that because things were in black and white back then that people behaved differently, but they didn't. She had to deal with a violent marriage. I tell you what, she gave me such a middle class upbringing. If it wasn't for her, I would have ended up in a children's home. She might have ended up in prison, because there was a violent marriage that I don't remember, because I was 4 when my parents divorced, but I had a very middle class upbringing, hence why I have a transgender sister, because we needed trauma-based therapy, right? And this is where the social engineering comes in, because I would not be here if it wasn't for my mother, and all those amazing things that she could do was super mum, superhuman, you know, making my clothes, making some of my toys and my books. She could paint, knit, sew. She could make all kinds of amazing things. But those words that she gave me at the end of her life, because I always thought I was useless. I couldn't knit and sew and cross stitch and crochet and all of that. I couldn't do any of those things. I always wished that I could. The only thing I could do was to write very beautifully in the way that she could, because she taught me. And I still get compliments on my handwriting, because she paid me £5 because she wanted me to write with loops, the old-fashioned way. In fact, since then, I've learnt how to do other types of American swirly writing, because they don't teach it. They don't teach it anymore. The only thing I liked about, the royal family, the family of Satanists, the bloodline of Satanists, Prince Philip, when he said that very funny clip where he's disgusted at this child's appalling handwriting. It was very funny because it reminded me of my mother. But is this really what they're teaching in the schools today? You know, yeah, I know. The royal family give me I get the EBGBs when I think about the royal family. But, you know, the institution that we were all supposed to look up to and all that crap. But yeah, no, Prince Philip did remind me of my mother at that point. But, you know, I've been brought up extremely well, but I realise I'm supposed to technically speaking, I'm supposed to have ended up in a children's home and on the streets and on drugs and goodness knows what. I'm fighting all of that. This is why people have said to me, maybe I'm being socially engineered or programmed for this, but me and Dad, well, actually not just me, Darren as well. I mean, Crumbs, he's the one with the Masonic bloodline on his mother's side. There's something that's really heavy that I can't repeat on his mother's side, but I will just say this. My partner on his mother's side is distantly related to the last Earl to be hanged with gold thread, and there's Freemasonry on his mother's father's side, and something very traumatic that I can't repeat. But I wonder if, we are sort of being programmed to be the ones, the go-to help people, because many times people have said to me, one day you'll be helping other people. You'll be helping other people. No, I won't. God, if I ever get to that point where I'll be helping others, I'll be bloody well thinking of me, because I need, like that Rachel Caruso MK Ultra survivor person, I'm saying what she's saying, I need 10 holidays a year to get over all of this. I've been losing blood. I'm exhausted. I'm not Superwoman. We're not superhuman. Super soldier, whatever they call it. I'm not people. My mother's friend said to me, "You can't be Superwoman." Well, I've had to be, but I'm not. That's just it. I'm not superhuman, and neither is Darren superhuman. But with what they're doing to us, it's just want a day to just relax. It does feel like, it's like that victim of satanic ritual abuse, the South African lady with the really sort of like aristocratic sounding South African voice accent. She said to me, I speak like this because it was the elite that were doing this to me as a child, and she described in graphic detail. And when I said, "Is it true that people eat babies and stuff?" and she said, "Oh yeah, this," like as if it's common. And she, without me even encouraging her, she told me that she'd been sectioned because she was trying to expose Freemasons in Lewis, which has a very satanic background. But she went from saying to me that me and my partner will bring people to Jesus to then asking me if I was a benefit fraud. It's like what these women here have been saying, complimenting you, but then giving you a backhander at the same time. Your guess is as good as mine. That's all I can say. So, I might seem like I'm okay, but I'm not. Do not be fooled. I just want this to end. I've had enough. But that lovely lady, to the lovely lady in Wales, because you're just what I need. You're what the doctor ordered, just normality, there's just no one here who is saying what you're saying. You're responding in the way that I need. Even when you said, "Oh, I hope you don't think I'm being too familiar." That's how I speak to people on Facebook that I've got respect for. I'll be like, "Oh, I hope you don't think I'm being too familiar." So I've never been to Wales before, but I would happily have a cup of tea with you, more than happily. I wish you were here in the hotels and I could rabbit away. Well, I'm rabbiting away now, but I'm just glad that someone out there can just see and affirm me that it's not me, because I know it's not me. But a narcissist wants you to think, play mind games and think it's you. I was trying to speak to this man earlier who's won custody of his 4-year-old son after 2 years, and he said his wife smashed a bottle over her head, and it was difficult to get him to understand. He was like, I was talking about praying, how praying helped, and he said, look, he said it's in Genesis that our Heavenly Father made man in his image, and then he said, but so that makes us gods. And I said, no, we're not gods. He said, that's what the enemy wants you to believe. And then he said, the enemy doesn't exist. Massive contradiction there. That's where sin began, when the enemy tempted Adam and Eve. Yeah, so he's not in. And he kept saying to me, you've got to stop giving an FUCK. And I said, yes. I did actually look on YouTube to find a video called How to Stop Giving an FUCK, and a load of videos came up. I couldn't find the video I was looking for, but loads of others came up. But you can't just stop. And he said sometimes you've got to do, the law has been put in place to stop you from doing the things you need to do. Yes, I know that, but even the security guard at the county court said to me, it's your stuff. If I were you, this bald-headed guy, if my stuff was in there, I'd go in there and go and get it. I was still following what the law was. I'm not going to break into the house to get my stuff. I'm not going to smash the door in, or even if my stuff is there. I want to follow, as much as the law is an ass and it's corrupt, at least I want to know I'm doing the right things, so I can be sure I'm doing the right thing through and through. Yes, sometimes you do have to go against the so-called law, if it's for the greater good, if it's because the law is corrupt. But I think in this case, people have got to, this is what really annoys me. They don't understand, because this is not just one thing. This is several things, and it's several nasty people all at once. This is not just one thing. It's lots of things, lots of nasty people. It's me on my own, apart from my partner. And you can't just say, yeah, you've got to move on. This is what people tell you to do. Oh, well, that's stuff. I get it to some degree, but it's not helpful. It's not helpful to say, oh, well, the fact of the matter is I've still got a chance to fight this, yeah? People went into my flat, men went into my flat and took out all my stuff, my gold ring, my passport, my birth certificate. Someone somewhere has got to say, like, I rang, there's a man called Matt Joyce, and he's very nice, but he's got a YouTube channel, Matt Joyce, and he's done many talks on things like safeguarding. Now, I rang him from the Premier Inn, which I self-funded for 4 weeks when I had my emergency accommodation unlawfully taken from me, which was the one where Jackie, who I rang earlier. Now, the legal ombudsman are investigating why, because Jamie threw the door open on me. I was half naked in bed. Well, I was half indecent. And he said, the council have got you a flat, but it was a grotty flat. So because I didn't accept it, I had a threat of police. This is someone who knew me from primary school. The house just happened to be my childhood best friend's house before I knew her. So it's a very, very small world. And he's texted me to say, he said he liked helping people. Now, at the time, he said the council said, if you don't leave, we've got to call the police. Why? Because I wouldn't take a grotty flat. And now he's texted me to say, don't contact us again, we're going to block your number. Now, I rang Jackie this evening because the floating support worker and Monique Prescott said they did have my stuff. I've recorded my conversation with her. she said, we've got stuff from the floor to the ceiling. There's been a man who's got all this hoarding stuff. And in the end, she terminated the call. And I said, by law, she's got to look after them. Now, this solicitor, this Basil Fawlty type solicitor, as I said, you can read the online reviews. He's saying I've got no rights in these places, and as I said, we've got loads of rights. You've just got to. It's whether the solicitor. Yeah. Well, anyway, say no more. So I don't know what my next move. I feel like I'm on like a Masonic chessboard. What's my next move going to be? Because they just want you to give up. So, what is my next move going to be? So, I don't know. I really don't know. I really don't know. But anyway, this Matt Joyce who's got a YouTube channel. I spoke to him at the premiering after they took that room from me, and Darren was threatening suicide. I was feeling suicidal. Ongoing suicidal. And I didn't want to be put in a grotty place in Eastbourne. I've had enough of those. I saw the place, Darren saw the place that they wanted to put me in. It was the whole idea of having the SDR flat was that it was a safe, self-contained place. And the police beat me out of it. If people aren't going to listen to me, then what is the point? This country is finished. This country is finished because people don't listen. They don't listen. They just want to project. I'm the victim. I don't want to hear what you've got to say. You need to leave your problems in the past because my problems are more important than yours. That's basically why this country is in a mess. I'm saying, well, anyway, you know what I'm saying. So these are crimes, horrific crimes against humanity. I spent had 3 sleepless nights, 2 of which were spent all night in A&E being abused. Now, I was going to send Matt Joyce an email. I started the email, got too exhausted and gave up. I rang him with my partner and he sounded enthusiastic back then. But the other day, since letting Matt Joyce, this YouTuber, know about what has happened to me since speaking to him, how I went into this private house share and how this landlady is now facing prison, he doesn't want to know. Why though? When things have just become unbelievably interesting, he doesn't want to know. And he's now saying that he's an amateur. If you have a look at his YouTube videos, he's not an amateur. He does talks in hotels. And he literally said to me, what did he say to me? I wrote it down. He was like John Wedger from MI5, but a nicer version. John Wedger was like, oh, darling, I don't know what you want me to do. And saying something invalidating and then terminating the call. And I was telling him I'd just been beaten out of my flat for 4 months as a response to my father's death by the police. Yeah, that's MI5. That's John Wedger from MI5 for you. But Matt Joyce, he was like, well, he suggested the police ombudsman. He said, at least he was honest. He said, I'm an amateur. But my partner is really surprised that he said that, as am I, because he's even done talks at the Shoreview Hotel, and I've spent thousands of pounds on these hotels with back PIP, severe disability. I said to him, the housing officer has done a safeguarding on me. And he said, because I rang him back, which took guts for me to do because I've lost a lot of confidence. And he's like, well, the thing is, safeguarding under housing, their legislation is different because it's something to do with civil law. So it's just but I'm just banging my head against a brick wall. So this is Matt Joyce, who's got a YouTube channel, and he does not come across as an amateur to me, because he's doing talks. He's actually training people in all this mental health safeguarding stuff. But he's like, all of a sudden, the stuff I'm saying is too heavy. It's like, what? This is why it's so frightening. I'm literally banging my head against a brick wall because there is no one to turn to. So he just suggested the police ombudsman. So, because I said I've gone through all the ombudsmans. I mean, seriously, you couldn't make it up if you tried. They make TV programmes. There are TV programmes about my OCD, hoarding, clutter. But it's not just clutter. These are my valuables. And it's been weaponised. It's called the weaponisation of mental health. This Masonic social engineering. It's evil. It's not there to help you. It's about fear and control. But the very few people that do get the help are the ones chosen for the TV programmes. So that's all I wanted to say. I think I've covered everything. But I just wanted to say that there are, some of these, sometimes I have been paranoid. No, not paranoid, but unsure about my partner, because the other day all this stuff came into my head without any control. You know how it is, you think you've got, it's not me, it wasn't even me thinking all this information, like it was coming to me, not from me. So you've got to say, is it coming from the enemy or is it coming from the good place, the Father, the Heavenly Father? So, like, for example, because I suddenly get these moments. This is just an example. Is Darren behind it? Is Darren behind it? When Darren threatens me with suicide, it's like leaving me homeless. So his threat of him being suicidal, leaving me homeless, and when he called the Samaritans the other day, and when I went to New Haven, he went to the Samaritans because I wanted to find out about my possessions, because there is a common occurrence here. It's always been, since I've been with Darren, I've had a flat that I was living in at the start of my relationship with my partner. He took a caring role. I lost the flat. Then I went into these hellholes. That's when it all started, this narcissism, this threat to dispose of my valuables when I had actually asked for help with clutter, my actual valuables. So all this unlawful activity, this narcissistic abuse. Because even if my partner was abusing me, they're still committing crimes. The council are still committing crimes against me. So Caroline Ansell MP's office offered Darren, my partner, a caring role. They took the flat from me. They put me in these places. It's all set up by design. This constant, I've got stuff in several places now. So they've created something that wasn't there before, which is a severe disability. I'm someone who did care work 20 years ago. I am now on severe disability, and I've never worked so hard in my life. It's actually physically killing me. I've been losing blood. I'm being told, oh, is she schizophrenic by these paranoid people? Oh, is she a benefit fraud by these idiots? So it's, yeah. So then when you've got a scenario where Darren is going to the Samaritans, because he can't cope with this crap, walking off. So he's got the woman from the Samaritans talking to me and him on the phone. You know, and then I'm on I leave a voice message for his father, whom I haven't seen for years. It's midnight and I'm standing, and you think, oh, is you know, another example, just an example of why I think my partner would be behind something. Just an example. One time when we were at St Mary's House, where they deal with mental health and social services, and it's all bullshit in Eastbourne. Darren said, this was about 8 years ago, he heard someone say, this is what happens when you don't get the help you need. When all these situations were being orchestrated throughout my relationship with Darren, all these situations were being orchestrated, right? Now, he said that's what he heard someone say. This is what happens when you don't get the help. And they were alluding to me. That's what Darren said. So why are they then putting on my record, I don't accept help, when they're not turning up for appointments? You see, all this narcissistic abuse. And then that nutty woman at Greg's, the bakery, that woman called Jean with red hair, who said, oh, you got the help you needed. I know, I work at Worthing Psychiatric Unit. That nutty woman who, when I asked her to please leave me alone, she said, mind my coat with your cup of tea. And I said, excuse me, do you mind? I'm talking to these men here. She was trying to provoke some sort of reaction, and then she went up to the counter. You started talking to me. I said, no, I did not. Could you leave me alone? Right, that's it. She gets up and goes and speaks to the people at the desk, little red-haired old witch. So because of that, the security guard was on my side. So he saw that she wasn't all there. And yet this woman claims she worked in the offices at Sussex Partnership in Worthing. And I got a £15 apology from Greg's head office bakery because of her. And then there was another time we saw a young man shouting at her from a distance in the Arndale, in the Beacon. And she was walking away. So she's obviously upset a lot of other people. But what I'm trying to say is, because of all these narcissists, you then tend to think to yourself, well, hang on a minute. And then you're thinking, where am I overthinking when I'm thinking, could my partner be behind all of this? Because when you've had to deal with so many nosy parkers and you know, just idiots, narcissists, gang stalking behaviour, you're always going to then be blaming the person who loves you. What was the other thing? You're not helping Darren. Oh yeah. And then he shouted, you're a bully. That was the service provider, manageress at St Mary's House. She wasn't helping me, and yet she said to Darren, no, Darren, you're not helping. And then they tried to put their arms up to keep me in the room with them. That stupid fucking little, pardon my language. These people are nuts. Like, at the start of my relationship with my partner, when my partner took a caring role, I sat with a man who was chewing on a pen like this. He was chewing on it so much so that the nib fell out of the pen and fell onto the floor. So he started chewing on the cartridge it was the cartridge, sorry, that had come out of the pen, because he was chewing on it so much that he then picked up the cartridge and started chewing on that like a 2-year-old. These are people who're supposed to be dealing with mental health. I mean, what was it? It's nearly 20 years ago that I first went to St Mary's House, and I sat with people with clipboards who were huffing and puffing. This is why people don't like me, because I'm pointing out all the mental illnesses of all the people that went before, all the newbies. So shine a light on their evil. This is what you've got to do. Expose it. Ephesians 5:11 have nothing to do with the fruitless deeds of evil, but rather expose them. And that's what I'm doing. And you do it naturally. You know if you're a chosen one because you're doing it naturally. So anyway, when Darren shouted at that service provider manageress, "You're a bully," I'm then walking out of St Mary's House in my dressing gown, and I think that might have actually been the same time that this dirtbag director, John Clement, locked me out of Ceylon Place. So I need to draw up a to-do list, because I need to go to Barclays. If I can get that woman to put something in writing. They're always telling you to leave things in the past, because you think of all the number of people they've done this to. They want to get away with it. No way. These are my valuables. This is my life. You've kept making me homeless when you were supposed to. Everything that you were meant to help me with, you've done the exact opposite. That's what all these narcissists have done. The 2 women here who came up to me and said, "You shouldn't be in here, you need a 1-bedroom flat." I was one step. I wasn't just one step ahead of them. I was several steps ahead. I know what people's games are before they've even. I could smell the bullshit from miles away. And now they're kicking me out of here because I asked about recycling and bins. But seriously, if anyone's got any suggestions for me, please do let me know. I know you can't comment on my videos, but I mean, my valuables mean something to me. They are valuable. They're not just something that can be replaced. You can't replace an heirloom. An heirloom is an heirloom. Anyway, there we go. But if you have any suggestions, please let me know. That's it. I'm done now. It's 3:00 in the morning. Yeah, I don't think there was anything else I wanted to say. That's it. But I've covered the thing I said about my partner, because I keep thinking this thing of, is he behind it? Because all these nightmares I'm having and all of that, it's all just my faith. It's not worth putting someone in prison, even for all the compensation in the world. It's not worth it. Not for all the tea in China. It's just not for anything. It's just not worth it. If you can't resolve other things that really do matter to you, and that's, you can't, and this endless, the council they're not acting by law. To date, they have not acted upon the instructions of this judge. So, and they're still even now bullying me. saying they've got this room for someone else, and I think it's for that one, that troublemaker. So, but the MP has not responded. Josh has not responded to my emails. He didn't respond to my online application. I give up. I give up. Anyway, there we go. That's me done. So I need to. Oh gosh. I need to send an email to the solicitor and forward him what Josh hasn't responded to. And that's it. I've had enough of it all. I really have.